Take this, Uncle. This is all I have. Hey, you don't have to. It's okay, Uncle. Please stay warm.
He gave his last dollar to a homeless veteran. What happened 3 hours later will break you. Sometimes the most extraordinary miracles begin with the smallest acts of generosity, proving that wealth isn't measured by what we keep, but by what we share when others need it more. Jacob Martinez had exactly $1 left when he saw the homeless veteran outside McDonald's. 3 hours after giving Frank his last dollar, Jacob's phone would ring with news that would change both their lives forever, proving that sometimes losing everything is the first step toward gaining more than we ever dreamed possible. At 17, Jacob worked 2 jobs while maintaining honor roll grades. Every paycheck disappeared into his grandmother's medical bills. He understood poverty intimately, choosing between lunch and bus fare, counting coins at checkout, the exhaustion of working while classmates played. But he'd never learned to ignore suffering when he could help. What began as a teenager's impulsive act of kindness would unleash a chain reaction, proving that generosity creates connections we never expect, and that the smallest sacrifices can trigger the biggest miracles when love provides the bridge between strangers destined to become family. East Los Angeles, March 2024. The morning air carried exhaust fumes and the smell of fresh tortillas from corner bakeries. This was a neighborhood where gentrification battled 3 generations of working families, where corner stores accepted food stamps without judgment, where everyone understood survival meant looking out for each other. Jacob's world existed in early morning bus stops, community college brochures. He couldn't afford scholarship applications requiring essays about overcoming adversity while he was still drowning in it. The McDonald's sat at the intersection of hope and desperation, serving dollar menu meals to people counting change. Veteran homelessness had reached crisis levels when housing costs exceeded disability payments. Men like Frank had become invisible fixtures on street corners, their service forgotten until Memorial Day speeches reminded people to thank them before forgetting again. For families like Jacob's, medical emergencies became financial catastrophes when insurance couldn't bridge gaps between necessary care and affordable treatment. Jacob had become family breadwinner at 15 when grandmother Rosa was diagnosed with diabetes. Complications made treatment expensive despite insurance that partially covered medications. Poverty made difficult to afford. His parents died in a car accident when he was 12. Rosa's Social Security couldn't stretch to cover a growing teenager's needs, plus her medical requirements that age multiplied through chronic conditions. 2 jobs, dishwasher and stock clerk, provided $800 monthly. Rent, utilities, food, and medication consumed everything. Nothing remained for emergencies that arrived weekly through broken appliances or medical co-pays. Academic excellence was his escape plan. Grades might provide scholarships that financial aid couldn't cover for families whose income was too high for maximum assistance, but too low for self-sufficiency. Staff Sergeant Frank Williams had served 2 Afghanistan tours as Army medic. Battlefield medicine required making life and death decisions that civilian healthcare couldn't prepare anyone for experiencing repeatedly. Combat trauma was compounded by survivor's guilt. Frank's medical skills couldn't save everyone despite training that should have been sufficient. Deaths that circumstances made inevitable haunted every quiet moment. Medical discharge came when PTSD made military service impossible. Civilian transition services couldn't bridge the gap between military structure and civilian chaos that veteran benefits couldn't adequately address. Homelessness resulted from inability to maintain employment. Flashbacks and anxiety attacks made regular schedules impossible despite desire to work that mental health challenges prevented. Jacob's decision to give his last dollar would create immediate crisis. Grandmother's medication refill couldn't be purchased until next paycheck a week. That seemed impossible to survive without pharmaceutical intervention. The situation would test whether generosity could create solutions when practical thinking suggested selfishness was necessary for family survival that sacrifice might jeopardize. Could teenager raised in poverty afford compassion when his family's needs exceeded resources? The ultimate resolution would determine whether community could recognize authentic need when media attention might provide resources individual effort couldn't generate. "Jacob Mijo, sit down." Rosa's voice carried weight that bad news had made familiar. Medical appointments delivered increasingly expensive diagnoses despite insurance coverage gaps. "The kidney specialist says I need surgery within 2 months or—" Her voice broke. Death sentence delivered through medical terminology that hope couldn't translate into affordable options. "How much, abuela?" $47,000. Insurance covers 60%, but copay is $18,000. Jacob's mind raced through options mathematics eliminated systematically. Loans they couldn't qualify for. Credit cards they couldn't obtain. Relatives who had nothing despite family bonds willingness couldn't overcome. There has to be something. Government assistance, charity programs, medical payment plans. "I've called everyone, mijo. Without upfront payment, surgery gets postponed indefinitely while condition deteriorates." The irony was devastating. 3 hours after giving away his last dollar, Jacob faced family crisis that grandmother's life depended upon solving. "I'll figure something out, abuela. Won't let you die because we're poor." Internet research revealed crowdfunding options medical emergencies had made necessary for families whose insurance couldn't bridge gaps between coverage and actual costs. GoFundMe medical fundraising community campaigns. People raise money for surgeries through social media if stories resonate. Creating compelling campaign required authenticity rather than manipulation. Honesty about circumstances shame had been designed to hide despite necessity. Rosa Martinez, 67, raised grandson alone after parents died. Needs kidney surgery insurance won't fully cover. Family exhausted savings through previous medical bills. Photography challenged dignity, while poverty might reveal conditions pride tried concealing. Story about love and sacrifice rather than just financial crisis. Social media strategy involved platforms providing maximum exposure when limited resources meant effectiveness through organic sharing rather than paid promotion. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok post across all platforms with hashtags medical fundraising and veteran support communities might see. Local media seemed impossible when news stations received hundreds of requests daily from people whose stories deserved attention competition prevented. Campaign launch revealed immediate challenge. Jacob's social media following was limited to classmates and co-workers whose financial situations couldn't support donations. Sympathy alone might motivate. 12 shares, 37 likes, $43 raised first hour. Need viral reach organic posting, can't achieve without compelling story. Frank's story was included. Connection between Rosa's surgery need and Jacob's generosity toward homeless veteran provided context for character motivation could demonstrate. This morning, I gave my last dollar to Frank, homeless veteran outside McDonald's. Tonight, I learned grandmother needs surgery we can't afford. Not asking for dollar back, asking community to help family that's always tried helping others. Veteran advocacy groups were tagged. Frank's military service might resonate with communities. Support programs were designed to assist. Initial media outreach included local Spanish language stations. Community connection might provide demographic representation. Mainstream coverage might miss. Work schedule was adjusted. Campaign management required time. Employment couldn't accommodate despite income necessity. Survival depended upon. Day 2, $437 raised. Still need $17,563 in 56 days. Jacob's journal tracked progress. Mathematical reality made seem impossible. Social media engagement plateaued when initial sympathy was exhausted. Viral reach required transcending network limitations despite authentic story wider audience needed discovering. Comments supportive, but donations small. Classmates contributing $5 or $10 they can't afford. Co-workers giving what they can spare. Local outreach produced limited results. Businesses faced economic pressures that charitable giving couldn't prioritize despite community sympathy. Channel 7 News interested but want human interest angle that makes Rosa's situation unique among thousands facing similar crises. Interview preparation required articulating why this family's need deserved attention when competing stories had equal merit. What makes our story special? Grandmother raising grandson working multiple jobs giving last dollar to homeless veteran need narrative demonstrating character rather than just circumstances. Production challenges included filming location, maintaining dignity when poverty shouldn't be sensationalized. Frank was sharing Jacob's story throughout homeless veteran community. Gratitude-motivated advocacy networking could provide despite limited resources. Homeless veterans organizing donation drive despite having nothing except stories that might inspire others remembering military service values. Unexpected support emerged when Rosa's former co-workers were contacted. Hospital housekeeping staff where Rosa worked 30 years organized fundraiser because they remembered her kindness. Local news investigation revealed systematic problem. Rosa's situation represented thousands facing identical challenges, insurance gaps created. Healthcare crisis story. How working families fall through insurance cracks when serious illness creates costs middle-class incomes can't absorb. Political attention began when elected officials recognized constituent concern. Voter awareness might translate into policy support. Community organization emerged spontaneously. Multiple fundraising efforts coordinated through informal networks, crisis response activated. Social media momentum built when story was shared beyond immediate networks. Veteran advocacy groups sharing across platforms, medical fundraising communities, cross-promoting campaigns. Jacob's role evolved from desperate grandson to community organizer. Crisis demanded skills. Circumstances developed through necessity rather than training. Learning fundraising strategy, media relations, volunteer coordination skills college wouldn't teach as effectively as emergency required. Public speaking became necessity. Interviews and presentations required articulating family story in ways sympathy translated into action. Channel 7 interview tonight. need to represent not just Rosa's need, but community's willingness to help families facing similar crises. Leadership qualities emerged when coordination between support groups required management skills. Crisis developed through necessity. Medical timeline accelerated. Rosa's condition deteriorated faster than anticipated, despite medication management delay made insufficient. Doctor says surgery can't wait full 2 months. Window shortened to 6 weeks, or risk becomes too high for successful outcome. Fundraising pace needed doubling when time constraints tightened despite progress effort achieved through community support. Competition for attention intensified when multiple local families launched similar campaigns, creating donor fatigue sympathy couldn't overcome. Frank's involvement deepened. Homeless veterans spent days at library using computer access to promote Jacob's campaign through Veteran Network's military service maintained. Abuela, Jacob's voice echoed through their apartment when he found Rosa collapsed in the kitchen, unconscious, medical alert bracelet flashing red. Paramedic assessment was grim. Blood pressure readings indicated kidney failure acceleration. Delayed surgery allowed progressing beyond stable management. Critical condition, immediate hospitalization required. Patient needs emergency dialysis and surgical intervention within 48 hours, or organ failure becomes irreversible. Hospital admission created immediate financial crisis. Emergency procedures couldn't be delayed for payment arrangements elective surgery might have allowed. Emergency department requires immediate payment guarantee or transfer to county facility, where wait time could extend beyond medical window survival requires. Insurance coverage was limited for emergency procedures. Lifetime caps approached through Rosa's chronic conditions. Despite premium payments, adequate protection should have provided. Jacob's campaign had reached 3,847. $18,000 remained needed in time-frame medical emergency, shortened to hours rather than weeks. We're $14,000 short with 48 hours to raise money or lose the only family I have left. Dr. Patricia Hernandez reviewed the case. Medical ethics required advocating for patient despite financial obstacles. Institutional policy created. Hospital charity program might cover portion, but family contribution still exceeds available funds. Campaign generated. Media attention intensified when Rosa's collapse was reported during evening news. Follow-up human interest provided through ongoing coverage. Channel 7 News has been following 17-year-old Jacob Martinez's fundraising campaign. Tonight, Rosa Martinez fights for her life while community rallies to meet impossible deadline. Social media exploded when news broadcast was shared across platforms by viewers whose emotional investment previous coverage created. Save Rosa, trending locally within 1 hour. Story resonating with families who face similar healthcare crises. Insurance gaps created. Donation pace accelerated dramatically. Media exposure reached beyond immediate community to regional audience whose resources could provide support local networks couldn't generate. $1,000 donated first hour after broadcast, rate increasing as story spreads through social networks. But mathematics remained brutal. $13,000 still needed in 36 hours before medical window closed despite accelerated support. Frank's intervention became crucial. Homeless veteran used every military connection to promote campaign through veteran networks nationwide. Posted Jacob's story on 50 veteran Facebook groups, using library computers 12 hours daily. Corporate attention began when business owners were contacted by employees whose personal investment motivated workplace advocacy. Local businesses organizing emergency fundraising event tomorrow night, but timeline doesn't allow adequate promotion major donation drive requires. Hospital administration pressured for decision. Bed availability couldn't be held indefinitely despite medical necessity. Surgery scheduled tomorrow morning, pending payment confirmation by midnight tonight. Cannot extend deadline further. Jacob's desperation reached breaking point. Every possible resource was exhausted except miracle prayer requested despite realistic assessment mathematical impossibility required accepting. Spent 3 hours calling everyone former teachers, coaches, distant relatives, politicians. Everyone sympathetic, but nobody has thousands to contribute. Frank, I gave you my last dollar this morning because it felt right. Now I'm losing my grandmother because 18,000 might as well be 18 million. Is this Jacob Martinez? The voice was unfamiliar professional carrying authority phone calls at 9:47 p.m., rarely possessed. This is David Chen, CEO of Pacific Healthcare Solutions. I saw your story on Channel 7 and wanted to discuss your grandmother's situation immediately. Jacob's confusion was complete when corporate executive was calling personally, despite late-hour business contacts wouldn't normally utilize. Mr. Chen, I think you have wrong number. We're not customers and couldn't afford healthcare solutions corporate services typically provide. You don't understand, son. Frank Williams called me tonight. Staff Sergeant Frank Williams, who saved my life in Afghanistan when I was Army Lieutenant in 2010. The connection was impossible yet undeniable. Jacob's morning generosity created chain reaction military brotherhood preserved through networks civilian life couldn't replicate. Frank found me through veteran LinkedIn network, told me about teenager who gave last dollar to homeless vet, then learned grandmother needs surgery, family can't afford. Frank's homeless, lives on streets despite being war hero who saved lives including yours. Which is exactly why I'm calling. Frank carried me 2 miles through enemy territory after IED explosion, never got proper thanks because medical evacuation separated us. Pacific Healthcare Solutions has medical charity foundation covering costs insurance won't pay for families facing exactly Rosa's situation. Foundation budget includes $18,000 earmarked for emergency medical assistance. Rosa's surgery can be covered completely if hospital accepts our payment guarantee. Jacob's disbelief was warranted. Solution seemed too perfect. Despite desperate need, miracle was required to address. Why would you do this for strangers? Your company has no obligation to help people you've never met. Because Frank Williams represents everything right about America's service, sacrifice, loyalty. If he believes you're worth helping, that's enough recommendation for my foundation's board. But there must be conditions, requirements, paperwork charity always involves. Only condition is Rosa gets surgery she needs to survive. Frank's word carries more weight than any financial application or background check. Medical miracle was becoming reality. Corporate resources mobilized through military brotherhood civilian connection couldn't have accessed. Hospital administration contacted payment guarantee, established surgery scheduled for 7 a.m. as originally planned. Rosa's life saved through chain reaction kindness, initiated this morning. Mr. Martinez payment confirmed through Pacific Healthcare Foundation. Rosa's surgery will proceed as scheduled with complete coverage. Dr. Hernandez's relief was evident. medical necessity could finally be addressed without financial obstacles ethical practice was complicated by. Preoperative preparation beginning at 5 a.m. Surgery expected to last 4 hours with excellent prognosis. Jacob's exhaustion was complete. 48 hours of crisis management drained emotional reserves relief couldn't immediately restore. Frank, how did you find David Chen among millions of veterans? How did you know he could help? Military network runs deeper than civilian connections, son. When someone saves your life, you remember their name forever and track their success through pride, brotherhood maintains. Channel 7 wants live coverage of Rosa's surgery outcome. Story about homeless veteran helping family that helped him creates narrative ratings and community inspirations require. Social media exploded overnight. Corporate charitable intervention through military connection provided hope viral sharing could amplify. Save Rosa campaign reached 2.3 million impressions overnight. David Chen's involvement inspiring other business leaders to establish similar emergency medical funds. Community celebration organized when neighborhood invested emotional energy in Rosa's survival through fundraising efforts, collective success required. Local businesses planning recovery celebration, veteran organizations requesting meeting with Frank about housing assistance college scholarship programs, contacting Jacob about educational opportunities. Jacob Pacific Healthcare Foundation wants to offer you full scholarship to any university healthcare administration program, could prepare you for career in medical philanthropy. Your fundraising skills, community organization ability, and demonstrated character suggest potential for leading charitable healthcare initiatives. Systematic problems require addressing. Frank Foundation also wants to offer you position as Veteran Outreach Coordinator. Connecting homeless veterans with services bureaucracy hasn't been able to access effectively. Job proposal included housing, healthcare, salary, military service earned, but civilian transition hadn't been able to provide. Both offers contingent on Rosa's full recovery and families' willingness to relocate for opportunities, education, and career advancement would require. Surgery completed successfully, kidney function restored, prognosis excellent for full recovery with proper follow-up care. Rosa will be hospitalized for 1 week, then home recovery for a month before returning to normal activities. Jacob's tears were relief mixed with gratitude. Family crisis was resolved through community support individual effort couldn't have generated. Frank, you saved my grandmother's life by connecting us with David Chen. Can never repay debt. Gratitude requires acknowledging. Son, you saved my life by treating me like human being worth helping. We're even, and now we're family choice rather than blood created. 6 months later, Rosa fully recovered and volunteering at hospital where she received life-saving surgery. Jacob enrolled at USC, studying healthcare administration with full scholarship. Frank Williams, housed and employed as Pacific Healthcare Foundation's Veteran Outreach Coordinator, has helped 127 homeless veterans access services. Community fundraising model developed through Rosa's campaign has been replicated in 43 cities nationwide, raising $2.3 million for medical emergencies. Original dollar was framed and displayed in Pacific Healthcare Foundation lobby with inscription, "Small acts of kindness create miracles we never expect." Jacob's act of giving his last dollar to Frank created ripple effect, transforming 3 lives when generosity connected military brotherhood with family crisis through networks individual kindness activated. Rosa's successful surgery and full recovery was achieved through corporate philanthropy, veteran advocacy, made possible when Frank's gratitude motivated outreach resources could provide. Frank's transformation from homeless veteran to housed employee demonstrated dignity and purpose could be restored when opportunity met determination through support systems, understanding, rather than charity, established. Community model for emergency medical fundraising was created when Jacob's campaign proved social media could mobilize resources traditional healthcare financing couldn't provide. Martinez's method for medical crowdfunding was adopted by 127 healthcare advocacy organizations nationwide when documented success justified replication through systematic approach, individual effort pioneered. Pacific Healthcare Foundation expanded emergency medical assistance program to cover 500 families annually. When Rosa's case demonstrated need, corporate resources could address through targeted philanthropy. Veteran homelessness initiatives were revolutionized when Frank's outreach work proved peer advocacy could bridge gaps professional services couldn't overcome through bureaucratic limitations. Educational partnerships emerged when Jacob's scholarship program inspired similar opportunities for students demonstrating community service character rather than academics alone recognized. Corporate social responsibility programs were influenced when David Chen's intervention demonstrated competitive advantage authentic philanthropy could provide through employee engagement. Jacob's evolution from struggling teenager to healthcare administration leader proved character demonstrated through crisis could create opportunities conventional achievement couldn't access. His commitment to medical philanthropy was inspired by understanding systematic problems required institutional solutions. Individual experience could inform through empathy rather than theory. Frank's role as veteran advocate provided purpose. Military service prepared him for when civilian application could utilize skills homelessness prevented from contributing effectively. Rosa's volunteer work at hospital created meaning from survival when gratitude could be expressed through service to other families facing similar medical crises. Sometimes, the most extraordinary miracles begin with the smallest acts of generosity, proving that wealth isn't measured by what we keep, but by what we share when others need it more than we do. Kindness creates connections we never expect when love provides the bridge between strangers who become family through mutual support, and every act of compassion has the potential to save lives in ways we cannot predict. When generosity meets need through networks, grace creates from individual courage to care about others despite personal cost. Their remarkable journey demonstrated that generosity creates wealth. Material possessions cannot provide inspiring millions to believe kindness is investment in future we cannot see but must trust will return. Multiplied when we choose compassion over comfort, proving last dollars given in love become first steps toward abundance. Sharing rather than hoarding makes possible through community connection creates.